Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have an exciting recap for you. A lot happened over the weekend in week 1 of college football, so we'll get you all caught up on that. And then we have the NFL season starting this week with the Lions on Thursday night, and then the rest of the games on Sunday. And Monday, of course, and we'll get you all prepped and ready for that. And finally, we'll end it off with some college football week 2 predictions, some big games going on in week 2. Got to be all ready for that. Got to know your talk, all those conversations you're going to be having on at these college football parties this weekend. You got to know your stuff. So let's get straight into it. Marco, can you start us off with the college football week 1 recap with number 17 TCU losing to Colorado?
Yeah, this is a game of the year candidate already. Colorado, everyone doubted them except themselves. Shedeur Sanders, 510 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was just incredible. Did not turn the ball over. Their only turnover of the game was Dylan Edwards' fumble. However, Dylan Edwards also had 5 receptions, 135 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Him, Travis Hunter, and Shedeur Sanders all looked like Heisman candidates. Obviously, they all will not make it, and it's unlikely that any of them will make it, but just truly an incredible game. Chandler Morris for TCU didn't look awful in the second half, threw one pretty bad pick in the first half at the goal line. And then his second pick, that was just an incredible play by Travis Hunter. That action they ran on that play, that's a touchdown most of the time, as Joel Klatt said on the broadcast. But Travis Hunter came off his route and picked it off. That was one of the best plays of the game. Then overall, Shedeur Sanders, this offense could not be stopped. And despite their lack of run defense, TCU just did not run the ball enough. And I think that was the difference in this game. The fact that they passed the ball 42 times and simply did not run the football enough.
First of all, I would like to start off with the fact that I predicted not only the Colorado victory, but the Shedeur Sanders as my breakout player. So I just want to toot my own horn for that. This was an absolutely phenomenal game. Like you said, Shedeur Sanders probably had the game of his life with throwing 510 passing yards. That's one of the most ridiculous performances I've ever seen. Not to mention, like you said, Travis Hunter playing 120 snaps due to the fact that he was playing both corner and wide receiver and being phenomenal at both. The only thing I would say I worry about is that if he continues to play at that production, 120 snaps a game, that's too much for any one player to handle, and he could get burnt out. So I hope they do tone it down a little bit in the future games. Like, I know their schedule gets a little easier at some points, so I do hope he doesn't have to play that many snaps for every game. But other than that, great game for Colorado, and it's definitely looking up for their program. Next up, we have number 9, Clemson losing at Duke. This game was last night because we're recording this on a Tuesday, and Duke, first of all, I just want to give props to Duke. Duke looked like an absolutely great team. I think they even have a chance to make a New Year's Six Bowl this year. But Clemson just looked terrible. I thought they were going to come out and be a decent team this year, but they were not very good. Marco?
Yeah, I actually expected this game to be very close. I was going in between them, but I said Clemson would win this in a very close one. It looked very close at the beginning. Duke had a muff punt. That's the only reason why Clemson scored. But this was a very odd game. Clemson had a field goal blocked. They missed a 20-yarder. They fumbled at the goal line, which got returned for 50 yards, put Duke in a good position to score. Then they mishandled the handoff at the 10-yard line, another touchdown that would have happened. They threw a couple picks. That obviously isn't just a weird thing. Cade Klubnik just did not read the defense well. But there were a few plays where, if miscommunications and stuff that does happen on week 1, that is Clemson's fault, but stuff that will not happen later in the year, if that doesn't happen, this game would be much closer. But Duke, they truly just looked like a better team. Riley Leonard did not pass the ball particularly well because of Clemson's defense, but he was running all over them. 8 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown. He had a play on a third down, looked like he was tackled, got out of it. Clemson defense stopped playing, and he runs in for a touchdown for 40 yards. Will Shipley did look very good for Clemson. He looked like the only guy that really wanted to be there, but they just looked awful. I do not think that the ACC will have more than one playoff team. I mean, they wouldn't come in the year, but that eliminates the chance. And Florida State looks like the only contender in that conference.
Yeah, I agree with that Will Shipley take. He looked actually really good in my opinion, but everyone else just didn't really look. I mean, they just looked dead, to be honest. Clemson just didn't look like a very good team, and that's that, I would say. Moving on, number 2 Michigan takes care of East Carolina 30-3. I don't think we need to talk too much about this. Defense looked good. JJ McCarthy looked great, 26 for 30, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, all to Roman Wilson. I would say the main negative takeaway from this game is that the run game didn't look great. The offensive line didn't look great. I would like us to turn that up the next few weeks before we get to our tough games like Penn State, Ohio State, and whatnot. But other than that, I think good start to the season. Margo?
I do think this was a solid start to the season, but there are a few things that were very disappointing. Yes, East Carolina was run blitzing, but last year it didn't matter. Even by the end of the year, teams like Penn State knew we were going to run the ball. Penn State's much better than East Carolina, and we still ran all over them. Here, I mean, Zach Zinner, probably one of the best offensive linemen in the country, had a very disappointing game. He got beat a lot on those run blocks, missed quite a few blocks. The tight ends, both Loveland and Barner, were missing quite a few blocks. The only offensive lineman that looked particularly good was Drake Nugent, the center from, I believe, Stanford. He looked good. Very solid from him. But outside of that, the O-line just looked pretty bad. Even, as I said, the tight ends not blocking too well. And on defense, everything looked good. I would say the pass rush was not very good. They were not getting there that quickly. I mean, they were solid, but I don't think there were any sacks here on the day, which is a little disappointing playing against a team like this. East Carolina does have a solid run defense. They were decent at defense last year, so wouldn't be too worried. Obviously, Harbaugh also out. I think that might have made a bit of a difference, but definitely a bit disappointing that they were not able to run all over this team.
You were talking about the pass rush. I agree, we should have had a couple sacks, but also if you're watching this game, I mean, that East Carolina quarterback was getting the ball out of his hands very quickly, and I think it's part of the reason why they were so unsuccessful in the passing game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, for the most part, definitely. But I did see a couple plays where he was in there for over 3 seconds, which obviously 3 seconds is pretty quick. But still, against a team like this, you'd expect them to be able to beat the offensive lineman within that amount of time. So not too much of a worry, just something that I noticed while watching.
Yeah, definitely 0 sacks, not where you want to be against East Carolina. Next up, we have number 8, Florida State, upsetting number 5, LSU. Jordan Travis leads the Seminoles to a 1-0 start on the season, and they are now number 4 in the AP poll, or number 3. Which one? I think they're
pretty sure they're number 4. No, 4.
Oh, yeah,
Bama's 3 now.
Yep. So number 4 in the AP poll, Florida State, great start to the season. Jordan Travis was commanding, I would say, for most of the game. There was a few sloppy plays. I believe he had 1 interception. But it was sloppy on both sides. There were a bunch of turnovers from LSU, like from Jaden Daniels and LSU. So, very sloppy game. Few fumbles here and there. Dropped punts on LSU's side of the ball, but overall just sloppy game. But Florida State's defense looked very solid against a LSU offense that was supposed to be one of the better in the country. So definitely a good start for Florida State, and at this point, I think they're pretty much a college football playoff team because they don't have much on their schedule left. Margo?
Yeah, as you said, they do not have much on the schedule left. Their toughest game was at Clemson. That game doesn't look as tough right now. The first half of this game, very sloppy. I believe LSU had 2 muff punts. Travis should have had 2 picks. He just threw the ball up one play and it got knocked down. But one thing I noticed on LSU, Ronnie Perkins Jr., probably the best linebacker in college football and the best edge rusher in college football, was playing pass coverage all game. He got in on a few runs. I mean, you do not have the best edge rusher in college football rushing the passer. Even though you have him in on every play, I don't know why he's back there at middle linebacker. He should be at defensive end. I think that might have played a major role in this game. Travis had quite a bit of time a few times. Obviously, still a solid D-line with LSU. Mason Smith was out, as I said last week, but they got some pass rush. But I think if Ronnie Perkins was in, he's a game changer, and he could have really rattled Jordan Travis. However, Keon Coleman was just unstoppable. Any jump ball he was going to come down with. I had him as my yearly breakout player and definitely a solid open to that campaign for him. 3 touchdowns, 122 yards on 9 receptions. Very impressive. And just a sloppy first half, and then Florida State easily pulled away in the second half in a very good win for them. And the SEC did not look too good this week, as we will say in our next game. North Carolina also upsetting South Carolina, so 2 SEC schools losing to ACC schools. Pretty disappointing. Cal, do you want to take that game?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call that an upset like you said, but yeah, UNC takes care of South Carolina. Good win to start off the season for UNC. Drake May, very solid game as we expected. Did what he needed to do. Not his best game. He did throw 2 picks, but he did what needed to be done to beat the South Carolina team that just couldn't get points on the board. I mean, Spencer Rattler actually had a very good game, 30 for 39, 353 yards. They just couldn't punch it in, and that was their problem all day. He had 0 passing touchdowns. They had a couple touchdowns on the ground, but other than that, they just really couldn't punch the ball in, even when they would get down there, get the opportunities. So that was a big, overwhelming problem for South Carolina. But I would say North Carolina's defense looked better than it has in a while, way better than last year for sure. And it was, I mean, the exact opposite of what we said before this week. It was actually the defense that won North Carolina this game. Marco?
Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw North Carolina get 9 sacks in a football game, I don't think I've ever seen that. Their defense is always bad. However, this South Carolina offensive line is probably worse than most high school offensive lines. They looked like they had never seen a stunt or any move from a defensive lineman. They did lose a few guys to the transfer portal. I believe their starting offensive tackle got injured in the spring game, but that's not an excuse as an SEC team to have guys that looked like they'd never seen a decent edge rusher coming at them. I mean, Spencer Rattler got sacked 9 times. That's a big reason why they didn't punch it in. Their run game just couldn't get it going because of that offensive line. British Brooks, the North Carolina running back, dominated 15 carries, 103 yards. Definitely helped out that pass game for Drake May quite a bit. He got injured last year, and nice to see a guy come back looking better than ever. But this game was truly won in the trenches by North Carolina, which is the exact way I thought South Carolina would win this game. So pretty surprising. I'm not sure if North Carolina defensive line is actually that good, or maybe South Carolina will just get sacked 10 times a game in the SEC, which probably will happen based off that game. So pretty solid performance at North Carolina, but South Carolina, I wouldn't say they beat themselves, but they just did not have an offensive line capable of blocking, which is the biggest takeaway of this game.
Yeah, terrible line for South Carolina. Moving on, we're going to just go through these last 4 games really quick, just let you know what happened. First, number 3 Ohio State struggles with Indiana, beats them 23-3, which doesn't sound too bad, but it was very close in the first half. They did pull away a little bit at the end. Kyle McCord did not look good at all, and I think Ohio State is going to have a really tough time figuring out a good quarterback for this season. I think they're going to heavily rely on Chip Trayanum in the run game and Travion Henderson also. So that's going to be something to figure out for the Ohio State Buckeyes for sure. Marco, do you have anything to say about this game?
Kyle McCord did not look great, and even after making some decent throws, Ohio State kept running the ball. They looked like they did not trust him. Devin Brown also only played 1 snap, which was a negative 3-yard run. I think if Indiana's quarterback was capable of throwing the football, they could have won this game. And Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka looked like they just did not play football all offseason and did not care about this game. They both just looked sluggish and were not making any big plays.
You forgot Devin Brown also threw a negative 2-yard pass to add on to that negative 3-yard run. So yeah, both Ohio State QBs not looking too good. Moving on, Baylor loses to Texas State. Marco, want to recap that one?
TJ Finley, the man from Auburn who was absolutely atrocious last year, transfers to Texas State, lights up this Baylor defense. Very impressive. I believe the spread was over 25 for this game. Huge loss for Baylor team, maybe a dark horse in the Big 12. People thought maybe this year's TCU. I heard a lot of people saying, but definitely silence those people. Next up, Texas Tech loses at Wyoming. I actually watched the end of this game. Very crazy. Looked like Texas Tech was going to survive. Up 6 in double overtime. Had to go for 2. They failed. Wyoming had a 4th and 10. Texas Tech goes all-out blitz, and the quarterback gets it out just in time as he's being tackled. Tight end scores. Next play, they convert the 2-point conversion. Huge win for Wyoming, and that next week's game between Oregon and Texas Tech is a lot less exciting right now.
Wait, I just want to go back to that Texas Tech-Wyoming game real quick. The fact that Wyoming won this game with their QB going 18 for 34 with 149 yards, and their, mainly that, and they fumbled 3 times, 2 of which they lost. So just, really weird game. I just can't believe Wyoming won this game. And then moving on, like you said, number 7, Penn State holding off West Virginia. They ended up winning by, what was the score? What was the final score? Like 20? They won by 20 or so?
38-15.
Yeah, they won 38-15. It was a little close for a little while, but Drew Aller threw for 3 touchdowns, 325 yards. Just solid game for him. Nicholas Singleton did exactly what he needed to do. I definitely expected a little more out of him considering how good he was last season as a freshman, but I still think he's going to have a great season this year. If you're Penn State, I would say nothing to worry about. This was a perfectly solid game, and you'll just move on and win a few more games until you have to face some tougher opponents. Marco?
Yeah, LR definitely looked like a step up from Clifford, as Clifford was not that good last year. Abdul Carter on defense, he was a beast. Very solid win for Penn State. Ended up looking very solid. Next up, we're going to do pretender versus contenders. We're going to go a little quicker for this segment, but college football, people love to overreact after week 1. So we're going to say if we think a team is truly a contender for a New Year's Six / college football playoff appearance, or if they're only going to win 8-7 games this year and just have their highest point right now. So Cal, do you think Colorado is a pretender or a contender this year?
This is gonna shock some people. I'm actually gonna go with contender for Colorado. I just think they're a really exciting team, and they don't have like a terribly hard schedule. So yeah, I'm going contender for Colorado. What about you, Marco?
For New Year's Six Bowl, I would say maybe. I think they can go 9-3, but they have a brutal schedule this year. They got to play Utah, USC, UCLA, Oregon. Washington. Actually, I don't think they play UCLA, but they play a gauntlet at the end of the year. I think they win 8 games, make a solid bowl game, maybe win. So if you consider that a contender, then yeah. But I wouldn't call them either of them because I don't think that they're bad or gonna contend for anything. Next up, North.
Yeah, my bad. I was thinking about Florida State when I said they don't have a tough schedule. I kind of forgot about Colorado's schedule.
Yeah. Next up, North Carolina. Drake May's great. They do not have a particularly tough schedule. I think they will go 10-2 this year, make the ACC championship game. If they lose, I think they go 10-3, make a New Year's Six bowl. So I would say they are a contender, but I do not see them making that much of a playoff push.
If I hadn't seen how their defense played this week, I would have definitely said pretender. But due to their solid defensive performance against South Carolina, I'm going to go with contender also. And then for Duke, I'm going to say pretender. Even though they beat that Clemson team, I just don't believe in a Duke football team that can make a New Year's Six bowl. Margo?
I mean, for Duke, I'm actually surprisingly going to say contender. They play at home versus Notre Dame and at Florida State. The only 2 games that I think are losable or tough for them. I think they'll lose at Florida State without a doubt, but at home versus Notre Dame, we saw that home crowd against Clemson. I think that could be a shocking upset. And even after that win, that's at worst 10-2 if they take care of business. I think could be a trip to the ACC championship game if they take down North Carolina. And I believe that's a week 11 game, big rivalry. If they win one of those 3 between Notre Dame, Florida State, and UNC, I think they're making a New Year's Six, and I think they have a chance. But I wouldn't say pretender or contender because I don't really think that they're going to make a New Year's Six game.
Okay, for Notre Dame, I'm going to say contender. Even though I picked them to get upset this week, that's kind of one of my only, I guess you guys haven't heard that yet, but a little spoiler alert. But I'm gonna say contender here, just because Sam Hartman looks like an absolute leader right now, and just a good start to just a good first 2 weeks of the season for Notre Dame has me really believing. Marco?
I will also say contender. As I said, they play at Duke. Definitely a tough game. And then they got to play at Clemson. I think they can win that. I think this team goes 11-1 and gives the college football playoff a chance to put them in if other teams lose.
Yep. And then finally we have Oregon. I'm going to go with contender. I just haven't seen enough out of Bo Nix, that everyone's saying. I know he's been perfectly good, but I don't know. I really just don't really believe in the bodacious Bo Nix, botastic Bo Nix, and I think Oregon's gonna be a pretender. Marco?
Yeah, I do not think the bodacious Bo Nix will get the job done for them this year. I think they'll lose to Washington. They'll lose to USC, and I don't think that's enough to consider them a contender as a team that holds themselves to as high a standard as Oregon. So I'm going to say pretender. I think they go 9-3/10-2 and do not make a New Year's Six game. Next up, we're going to do NFL season predictions. Season starts this week. We'll do AFC championship predictions, NFC championship predictions, then Super Bowl. My AFC championship is going to be the Bengals versus the Bills. I do not think the Chiefs will make it. I just think that only having one receiver capable of catching the ball, and that's Travis Kelce. Well, obviously they have other guys, but one elite player that Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball to. I don't think that'll get the job done. I think the Bengals have a big year. I think the Bills really thrive with Josh Allen. He throws less picks this year, and I think that's my AFC championship game.
Okay, definitely a solid game right there. For my AFC championship, I'm going to go with the Jets versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Jets are going to come out of the wild card and just play very well in the playoffs. Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and offense. And the Bengals, really just no surprise there. I think they're going to get the job done in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens there. Marco?
Yep, definitely. Lots of stacked teams. The AFC. It looks almost impossible to get out of there. NFC Championship. I'm gonna have Eagles taking on the San Francisco 49ers yet again. I think those are the two most talented teams in the NFC. They'll compete. I don't know who will win. I'll say it in a couple minutes or 30 seconds, but that's my NFC Championship game rematch of last year.
For my NFC Championship, I'm actually going to go with the Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions are headed to the Super Bowl. I have complete and utter faith, maybe blind faith in this Lions team, but I'm just so excited for this season. It's hard for me to go with anyone else. Marco?
Yeah, maybe I should have said the Patriots going to make the Super Bowl because that is not happening. In my Super Bowl,
someone clip it.
I'm going to have the Bengals making.
I just want that. I want that on tape for when we make the Super Bowl this year.
For my FC Championship, I'm going to have the Bengals making it over the Bills. I just think Burrow will outplay Allen in that big game, and I think this will be tight, but I think the Bengals will get the job done, and I think the Eagles will win. Bengals, Eagles, two very exciting teams. Give me the Eagles, get revenge from last year, and win it all.
All right. For my Super Bowl, like I said, Lions making the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to win it, and I'm actually going to go with the Eagles. Sorry, not the Eagles. And I'm actually going to go with the Bengals to win it all. Misspoke. Yeah, Bengals Joe Burrow's just going to go crazy this year. And unfortunately, I just got the Bengals. All right, moving on. Marco, can you start us off with your NFL breakout player? We're going to kind of speed through this last couple segments just because we're nearing our 30-minute mark.
Next up, my NFL breakout player for the whole season is going to be Marcus Jones, the Patriot. He had 2 picks, including a pick 6 last year, all in both of them in big moments. He housed a punt for the win against the Jets. That was a huge play. Had a few explosive plays on offense. Just give him the ball, let him go to work. He had a 45-yard touchdown against the Bills on a screen pass. He'll probably be our cornerback 2 behind Jonathan Jones, maybe cornerback 3 behind Jack Jones, but he'll be on the field pretty much every defensive snap. And I think if the Patriots utilize him well with Bill O'Brien, he's a great offensive mind. I think he can maybe have a few touchdowns on offense this year, over 100 yards, and be one of the better corners in the NFL. One of the better cornerback 3s, one of the better slot corners in the NFL this year. And also he'll be a great punt returner. So I think he'll be one of the most explosive players in the NFL this year and have some game-changing plays, winning some for the Patriots.
Yep, very nice pick there. I'm actually going to go with Daxton Hill on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm saying this because Jesse Bates and Von Bell, 2 very good players in his position, are leaving. He's a safety for the Bengals, by the way. So he's looking to step into a pretty big role this year. He has great ball skills and insane athleticism, and we know what he can do based on his career at Michigan. So very excited for Dax Hill this year. He's heading into a big season. Marco, can you now quickly moving into our next segment? We're going to start us off with the Lions at the Chiefs, our Thursday night football game. Marco, can you start us off?
Yeah, I think this Lions hype gets silenced very, very quickly. I think the Chiefs dominate this game. I don't think the Lions have an answer for Travis Kelce. I guess Hutchinson's a pretty good pass rusher. I don't think he'll be able to get to Patrick Mahomes. I think Isaiah Pacheco in that Chiefs run game looks good, and they win this game by 10 points with relative ease.
I think you're forgetting the fact that Travis Kelce is possibly sidelined for the Thursday night football.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Chiefs are winning by 10.
Yeah, well, if Travis Kelce is out, I have the Lions by 3. If not, unfortunately, I do have the Chiefs by 7 to 10 points. So, moving on, we have the Eagles at the Patriots. Here I'm taking the Eagles because I'm just trying to spite Marco for picking the Chiefs over the Lions, and because I just think the Eagles way more talented than the Patriots, and they'll get the job done here.
Tom Brady's coming back to Gillette Stadium for this game. They'll do it in honor of him. He did get owned by the Eagles in one of the Super Bowls, but they'll get revenge. I think Marcus Jones makes some big plays. The secondary is too good. Also, Christian Gonzalez, the draft pick. I just don't think A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith will be able to get open. I think Jalen Hurts gets frustrated. Matt Judon, Josh Uche on the outside. This is the best defense, or a top 3 defense in the NFL, with Bill Belichick calling the plays. I think it's going to be tough for the Eagles to move the football. I think Mac Jones gets it done. Juju has a couple big plays, and the Patriots get it done, shocking the Eagles. I don't think we'll make the playoffs this year, but I think we'll start it off hot with a win against one of the best teams in the NFL.
I stubbornly disagree. And then moving on to our final NFL game, the Bills at the Jets. I have the Bills here. I think Josh Allen, even though I have the Jets making it to the AFC Championship, I do have the Bills in this game. I think Josh Allen gets off to a hot start, and the Bills get it done here. Marco?
I think Jets win this game. I think Garrett Wilson has a couple touchdowns. Roger looks good. I think Sauce Gardner picks him off Allen once, and Jets win. Next up, upset picks for college football. Cal won, I lost. My pick this week, actually, we're going to set the rules. The rules are the spread has to be 7 or more in favor of the team we are picking against. Mine is number 24, Tulane, beating number 20, Ole Miss. They're playing at home. They have one of the best quarterbacks in college football, Michael Pratt. Not quite sure why the spread is 7.5 in favor of Ole Miss, but I'll take it. Pretty easy upset pick. I think Tulane has a competitive game, but I think Ole Miss is just not good enough defensively, and Tulane gets it done.
Yeah, nice pick there. I'm actually going to be taking NC State beating number 10 Notre Dame, since you took the best upset pick. This one just seemed like the best option. And NC State always has some upset power, even though Notre Dame has had a very good start to this season. I feel like there's always, you've seen NC State upset Clemson before in the past, and I just think they got that dog in them, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I got NC State in this one. Moving on, college football week 2, we're actually going to do rapid fire for this one, so I'm going to list off all the games. Marco, you're going to tell me the winner of the game, just one word, and then we'll flip-flop, and I'll tell you the winner of some of mine. So, Michigan versus UNLV.
Michigan 44-3.
Colorado, number 22, Colorado versus Nebraska.
Colorado 27-24, close game.
Number 20, Ole Miss at number 24, Tulane.
Tulane 37-30.
Number 23, Texas A&M at Miami.
Very close game, sluggish. Give me Texas A&M 20-14. I'll ask you some. Actually, I'll just ask you after.
Number 13, Oregon at Texas Tech.
I think Oregon wins this game very close, 30-23.
Number 19, Wisconsin at Wazoo.
Give me Wazoo 27-18. Wisconsin does not have an offense.
Number 11, Texas at number 3, Bama.
Give me Bama, slow game, overhyped, 20-17 Bama, just like last year.
All right, let's flip-flop. My turn.
Number 2, Michigan versus UNLV.
Michigan handles it at home.
Number 22, Colorado versus Nebraska.
Shedeur Sanders puts up 47, and they beat Nebraska 47-35.
Number 20, Ole Miss at number 24, Tulane.
Ole Miss 28-24.
Number 23, Texas A&M at Miami.
Texas A&M 31-28.
Number 13, Oregon at Texas Tech.
Oregon big.
Number 19, Wisconsin at Washington State.
Wisconsin and that Big Ten defense keeps it low scoring. 14-10 Wisconsin.
Number 11, Texas at number 3, Bama.
Texas keeps Quinn Ewers healthy, and they upset Bama like they should have done last year, 42-35.
Hell no.
All right. That's all we got for today. You got anything else, Marco?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Second Take Podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace.